lab. Responses engine 5, engine 3, engine 1, ladder 3, ladder 2, rescue 1. We've got smoke showing. Division 1, you're on location, box 23, reporting smoke show on 727.
Welcome to JobTlks podcast. Our goal is to facilitate knowledge sharing. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests on the show belong solely to the people expressing them. We do not represent the departments, cities, or towns we work for. All right. Welcome back, everybody. We are well into season 2 now. I think this is our second or third episode of season 2.
Fairly involved.
We're well
second season.
Well involved in season 2. You guys heard the disclaimer. Just make sure you follow us on our social medias. Check out our new merchandise, Culture Over Everything. The new design for our t-shirts kind of represents what we're all about, and we like it. Any of those sales just help fund this podcast, so we appreciate you.
Awesome. Definitely buy the shirts. They're actually really sick.
They are sick.
Yeah. I've been trying to find out where to buy them, but they're all sold out.
Yeah.
So
we sold out like our first 100 in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
We've made one sale, actually.
Yeah.
One singular.
Yeah. It was a bulk order. So welcome back to season 2. So this episode is Apparatus Innovation Design for the engine company. I kind of built it to be a season, talking about some of the, you see there's a vast amount of difference between the way a city designs its engine company, the way a rural community designs its engine company. And there's a lot of variability there that I thought was kind of cool that it might be worth expounding upon. So I thought we could dive into that.
It's
today.
A surprisingly like big topic. Like when we put this in our discussion group, we got a lot of people that
which is a good point. So a lot of the content from this episode is user driven from the discussion group. So we appreciate you guys getting in there, being active participants, and talking about topics that are of interest to you. And a lot of times the topics that are of interest to you guys end up being episodes. So if you have stuff that you think that might be a good episode, throw it in the group. Send us a message. We'd be happy to either have an episode, or if you're a subject matter expert, maybe have you on. So
yeah,
because we are certainly not, unless it's failure. Real good at that. All right. So occasionally we start with the weekly shout out. So as you guys know, we don't film these episodes live. So this is, by the time we had a break between season 1 and season 2. So most people are aware of this at this point, but there was a recent grab in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. So on the morning of August 10th, Pawtucket firefighters were dispatched to Ballston Avenue for reported structure fire with multiple victims trapped. Companies arrived to find heavy fire on floors 2 and 3. Company officers and fire prevention first arrived on scene and went to work to locate and rescue the victims from the exterior of the structure. Some firefighters were treated for heat exhaustion and some minor burn injuries, and continued to last for about 90 minutes.
This was like right during the heat wave, right?
Yeah, I was going to say. So this was right during that summer heat wave where we had that stretch of like 90, 95, 100 just consistently. So it shows like, there's so many variables that make our job dangerous, and it's not always the structure. It can be like the environmental hazards as well. But there's actually some footage here. It's captured by a bystander.
What's when I was looking at these photos, what's crazy is that these people, they look like kids, like teenagers almost. Maybe they're a little older, I'm not sure, but they had to go over the air conditioner and like out of the top half of the window.
Yeah, I wonder why he couldn't get that in. I mean, they were probably already climbing out of it.
Yeah. So if you guys couldn't hear, Nick asked why they would have to go out of the top side of the window. My guess is that air conditioner is probably screwed in somehow.
Yeah,
so a lot of people
might have screwed it into the sides.
Yeah, they screw it into the frame.
Expandable sheaths there.
Yeah, so they might not have been able to just push it right out easily. And honestly, in a panic mode, they might have just... it worked, obviously.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, so it shows, like, one, obviously shout out to Pawtucket. Good story, good outcome. but also shows, sometimes like maybe the first two engine company, ladder company is going to be the first off. Fire prevention happened to be in the area, and they effected rescues, which is really cool. So shout out to Pawtucket for making it happen.
Yeah.
One quick question. So, and we'll put these photos up on our Facebook and Instagram as well. But see, I'm guessing that's the fire prevention officer. That's
I believe
that's on the ladder.
so. I believe
Is that
so.
a fire escape ladder?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to these people or the landlord for having one of those out there, which I'm pretty sure is probably required by law. But that made a obviously these guys would have got it done either way, put their own ladder up, but having that right there that you could just you could get out was obviously hugely important to the success here.
Most of those, I mean, I don't know what the regulations are there, but like you can't even put those in now. Like
oh really?
In most places, like right now, I know if I tried to like put one in,
You have to put actual stairs.
Yeah,
in, right?
So you'd have to be like. There'd have to be like no other way. You'd have to be like grandfathered in a sense. I'm pretty sure. Like I don't think that like most codes allow for stuff like that. And then the other thing is we always talk about, like our battleground, right? And like you look at this house and it's like, oh, it's obviously it's split up. There's a couple of units there, but that fire escape, right? And the first thing you pointed out, it's a fire escape and it's blocked by an AC.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, they got out the window one way or the other, but it's like, it's like its whole point and purpose was completely like effed by that AC.
Yeah, right. No, and that brings up a good point of like, you talk about battle space and you talk about was it Nardelli said the cities city is our
it's a battleground, right?
Oh, he said like the city is our school book or something like that.
Yeah,
something to the effect of that, where like. And I think it was with you, like just driving around your city on a daily basis and like noting things that are potential hazards for fire prevention. Yeah. So I think it was with you a couple of years ago. There was a fire escape on, I think it was like 3rd Street.
Oh no, it's like 5th, and it was just piled with bikes
stuff
and
on
trash.
Right on the fire escape.
Right.
And we made mention of it a couple of times, and eventually like code enforcement went out and got it. But it was like it's one of those things you drive by and it's like it's an accident.
It wasn't just like hindering the like stairs; it was like the door to get out. Like you couldn't.
But those are the things you notice. But shout out to Pawtucket.
Yeah, good job,
nice job, guys.
Yeah. So, like I said, this is a user submitted topic in question. So it originally derives from the JobTlks discussion group regarding. A guy they were looking to spec out some new new apparatus design. It garnered a lot of feedback and insight from a lot of different members, varying departments, large and small, cities, rural, kind of suburban. So I'll go through the question, and like I said, just to highlight, like we really appreciate the amount of activity that occurs in the discussion group. It's always very positive. And there's a lot of great topics that occur in there, and some of the topics we would never think of. And it's important to make the show user-driven, so we're very happy to have one of those discussion topics end up being an episode. So the initial question was, our department is constantly ordering new engines every year, and we have put out 2 options for our company officers to review. The main options that we're trying to decide on is option 1, which would be 1,000-gallon tanks, large side compartments, and high hose beds. Or option 2, 750-gallon tanks, smaller side compartments, and lower ground deployable hose beds. I feel like a discussion of what design fits different departments could be a good topic and generate thought about what is needed and what versus what is excessive. So like I said, this brought up a lot.
Passionate.
Passionate user feedback, and it was all like really good. And everyone's opinion is kind of framed through like the community they work in. I think ultimately that's like what makes the determination. Like there could be one thing that works perfectly for Stoughton, and that might not work in Cambridge, or there might be something that works really well in Cambridge or another community, and it just doesn't fit the bill for another community. Right. So there's so much. It's like Legos.
I think the guy that submitted this is down in Georgia.
Yeah, which shows that we are a multi-state media conglomerate. But like I said, so there's a lot of things that I wanted to dive into, and the more I did research for this episode, the more I found myself. I mean, I like fire trucks. Yeah, but like honestly, like the more I got into it, like I didn't realize, like I knew there's a lot of variability, but like the amount of like complete custom specification to building a truck is actually really cool. So there's different like manufacturer pros and cons of going with different companies. Obviously, the main things you think of are like hose bed layout, but then you dive into like, you know, what size LDH do you guys have? What do you want for crosslays? Do you want a trash line? Do you want a bumper turret? What do you want? What makes sense for your community? equipment orientation and needs. What equipment do you need? What equipment do you don't or would like to have? Ladder placement on an engine, right? Do you guys carry what complement of ladders do you carry for ground ladders? And then obviously water tank specification. Do you guys want foam? Cab design? Like, what do you guys run with? You volunteer community that like you're lucky to get like 2 or 3 guys, or do you run in the city and you have like a 4-man company and you need more space versus physical size? So I have a bunch of pictures here.
What's crazy is that all of this stuff is like comes into obviously it all comes in, but like you might want all these things and then you find out like, oh, I can't have those things because I can't get my truck in the door of the station anymore. So it's it's a total balance when you're designing these apparatus between like what you need, like have to have, what you want, and then what you can have,
or what you can afford,
So
you have to make sure, like
even stuff as simple as like air conditioning.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty modern. A lot of guys on the job even 10 years ago, ACs in the trucks just weren't a thing.
So I forget. Yeah, are you gonna?
No, I have a funny story about air conditioning.
Yeah, I think it's. I was just gonna say
this happened yesterday.
Oh, never mind. All right. I thought our brains were linked.
No, well they always are linked. We got our engine back. We had a spare. But we got our engine back. It was my first shift back from having a child.
That's right, Barry's a dad.
And we have little fans back there.
Well, he didn't physically have the child, but
no, Erica, thank you. And we had the little fans.
Yeah.
And like I turned it on and it was like I felt like Jim carrying the rhino. It's awful hot in these rhinos. And I was like tapping it and it like wouldn't work. And then all of a sudden it was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, shut it up. And it like wouldn't turn off. And I was like, and I like tapped it again. It was just like, I was like, I'm just gonna roll down the window. No, and I just wanted a little air.
It's too much ass.
I could have sworn that I can't remember who we were talking to, but it was somebody. It was one of the chiefs who was specifically ordering his engines without air conditioning. Maybe it was.
I do remember that conversation,
but maybe it's like maybe we had it, or maybe the guy who came and showed us our new Pierce truck was telling us. I can't remember, but he said that there was a chief who was like, we don't need air conditioning, and he was like, and they're like, listen, chief,
it's more expensive.
It's more expensive to not put air conditioning in.
We were having this conversation.
I do
remember where. Yeah.
We had to. I don't remember.
I don't care if it's more money.
Yeah.
Fuck those guys.
Yeah. Dude, it was like it didn't even make any sense. I just don't remember what town.
I forget. Yeah. But yeah, it was a standard feature. Yeah. I remember talking to you guys about this, and he's like, it costs more money to.
That's like so.
I have the ductwork. It's standard cab model.
Right.
It's like I bought a new truck recently, and I don't like. Yeah, I don't like leather seats. Like
what?
Yeah, they're hot in the summer unless they're ventilated. But I don't have fuck you money yet. Buy our t-shirts. So they weren't ventilated. So I was like, can I get cloth seats? Because they're like leather's so hot, and they're like, yeah, but it's gonna cost you like an extra $2,000. And I was like, I guess I'll keep the leather.
Yeah, seriously.
Leather's not that bad.
It's just hot. It's just the summer's hot. That's all.
Yeah.
Sorry, I went off the rails.
I haven't had leather in the last 2 vehicles I've had.
It's good for dogs. I'll give it that.
Yeah,
babies.
It definitely is. Yeah.
All right. Well, here are some pictures, some from local communities and some from others. So you can see like on the surface, you can see, and some of these pictures we'll dive into a little bit more because some of them are represented in the topic that we're going to talk about next. But you can see like smaller urban community. Obviously, everyone, I would say probably the majority of people that watch the show may be from New England, other than the other multinational media people that watch. But so you have Chelsea up in the top corner here, which has a much shorter wheelbase. It's a very dense urban community. So they have a much shorter wheelbase, and I believe they have 500 or 750. If there's anyone from Chelsea who's watching, feel free to correct me. But point being, they have a much shorter wheelbase.
I like that.
Yeah. That makes it much easier to maneuver in the city, versus some of the other options you see here in the bottom right-hand corner. You have Appleton, which is one of the ones that we're going to dive into. They're a more like suburban community to where they have a longer wheelbase. It's that kind of like Pierce puck design, if everyone's familiar.
Yeah, that's our new engine too.
Yeah,
that's what we have. Are all the pucks.
So
the Enforcer,
they have like the roll-up cabs for their crosslays. And then they have like the ladders. I've never seen them around here, but they have the ladders that come from up top and kind of like
they tilt
oscillate
over.
down.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
tilting cab, which I'd be curious to see at one point because I don't know how long, like under duress, if you really need to throw a ladder, like how long does it? I can't imagine it's long,
Right.
but I imagine,
Yeah, that's interesting. I never seen that.
yeah.
Or if the mechanics fail, is there a way to
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
override it or
So you
something
just
like
have to
that?
get up there and
Yeah.
take it off. But.
So there's a lot of different variability in the way that we're building these engines. So you can see on the top and the top right, it's similar design to Chelsea's, but it's a longer cap. So that's 1,000-gallon tank versus a 750 or 500.
Where's that one from?
Belmont. I think it says Belmont.
Yeah, but it's not.
Belmont, New
It's
Hampshire,
not-
maybe.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. So point being with that picture, now that I'm remembering, was it when I built this? I don't know if you can see my scrolly guy here.
Oh, that was pretty.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about. That was a great picture.
That was a great.
But
great
on
pack.
on that Belmont truck up top, the actual pump panel is in between. So it's like one of those step up pump panels.
Oh, it's like
versus
a
what-
mid-mount pump?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Which when I was down in, I can't remember. I think it was it Dallas or Nashville? I don't know. It could have been. We do a hockey trip every year, and we just go somewhere and watch the Bruins play. And we ran into a couple of these, and they're wicked cool, man.
Yeah.
You get up there, it's
you
cool.
Can see both
yeah,
sides.
yeah.
that's what I think the benefit is. Like you can take a peek on both sides, see how
Yeah.
your lines are doing. It gives you, I think, a little bit more situational.
Well, you can
awareness.
cut through the truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're pretty.
The 20 feet gets really long when you're fully loaded down.
But anyway, so here's a really cool picture. Boom.
dying.
So this is what we would call.
These guys are known for this carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we would call
Where's
where's
Carrie?
low hose bed.
New Hampshire?
No, I
No,
want to
no.
say Carolinas or
Oh,
somewhere
okay,
Virginia,
all
something
right.
like that.
Yeah, I think it's like North Carolina.
Yeah.
Okay.
One fantastic job with the hose loads. It's amazing. Perfect.
It is beautiful.
But you can see like this is so every department has a different philosophy, right? And this is probably so the town of Cary, right, is specifically set up to be a fire engine versus if you look at the township of Logan, that's like a rescue engine, right? So depending on like what you need to carry, what other apparatus your department has, and like the sky's kind of the limit, right? But so these guys are carrying with a super nice graphic, right? 250 feet at 2-inch with a
Dude, the signs are like, I
Yeah.
love it.
yeah.
I love
it's amazing.
I love everything about it.
I know. I wanted to, I'm never gonna take credit for something I didn't do, but like, I was like, man, I wish I came up with this idea of like
Yeah.
this neatly organized graph. But so they got the 250 feet at 2.5 with a 1.5 tip, 200 feet of 1.75 with a 15/16 tip, 800 feet of 3-inch with a gated Y, which is pretty cool. And then they got 1,200 feet of 5-inch. It's a little bit different than most of the area up here. I think Brian's community uses 5-inch on like.
Yeah, and I want to
community
say
grant.
like Natick randomly uses 5-inch, but I could be wrong.
And then they have another 300 feet of 3-inch with a blitz monitor. I feel like you don't see 3-inch around here.
No.
2.5 inch and 3/4 and like
Yeah.
4-inch.
Doesn't Boston use exclusively 3-inch?
Don't know.
There's a new a new hose that they would actually Jim Bertram was telling me about. He works at Northeast,
Yeah.
and he what was it? I'm gonna have to ask. It was like I want to say it was like 2 1/8 or something like that. It was an odd size.
Well, I know, like Framingham uses 2-inch,
yeah,
like
but
for
it's
their attack lines.
But it's like,
Really?
but he was saying that like with that and like the low pressure nozzle and everything, like one guy can sit there and
yeah,
flow water with it.
The low
very
pressure
easily.
nozzles
It was kinda
are awesome.
yeah. It was kind of interesting. I'll have to get more information on
Yeah.
it.
I would love to at some point have someone that's like a legit expert in like hydraulics and like nozzle, something
Oh, yeah.
like
Yeah.
L-card or something.
Yeah,
that they
yeah,
can
yeah.
have
Yeah, that'd be
to, like,
awesome.
really get into
Yeah.
like water and hydraulics and something.
We can do that.
But
I think we're big enough. We got like 26 subscribers. Right?
yeah, no, I think we're getting there. I actually reached out to Nike.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, they got back to me.
yeah,
I'm
And I
already.
did like a power move, and I'm like actually not interested.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just
I
wanted to see
just
if you
wanted
guys
you
would
to reach
respond.
out to us. I don't want it.
I'm sponsored by ASICS already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not old enough to be sponsored by ASICS. Oh, by the way, birthday girl.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to Jono.
I appreciate the presents.
Yeah.
What do I do with my?
Did you get your paddle?
Yeah.
Nice.
I left it over there.
Pitched
Oh, well.
it for that.
Nice.
Next episode.
Next episode, I'll be
Yeah.
I'll be a pro by then.
So, anyway, so you can see the benefit of low hose beds. You can carry a shit ton of hose, and you have a lot of variability. Some of the other options here, some people don't have the luxury of, like I think everyone would love a low hose bed in the sense that it's like so easy to grab, very, very utilitarian, and easily deployable, but that might not make sense if you need to carry 1,000 or 1,500 gallons of water. You have to put that water somewhere, and the space that you're losing equates to you physically can't have low hose beds.
Right.
So if you look up at the top here, and this is kind of cool too, shows some more variability. So a Cordova, their pump panel, if you can see, is in the back right on the officer side.
Yeah, I've never seen
that before.
Yeah.
And looks like all the intakes
Yeah,
there in
everything.
the
Yeah.
rear.
And then the township of Logan is on the back right of the driver's side, which is similar to the old engine one. Used to have that. Our old engine one.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Cambridge's old engine one used to have a pump panel like similar to that
Oh,
township
okay,
Logan
yeah.
one.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Which I believe is now in the city of Quincy.
Is it?
I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it just shows the variability, right? So like the town of Cary, like they have these awesome low hose beds. Everything's easily deployable. It makes a lot of sense. But if you look at something like the township of Logan, that's like a rescue engine. Like you can see they have the pump panel, but right next to that they have struts. They have a toolbox. They have like so much stuff to where like that might be their one like piece of apparatus that has to handle extrication. It has to handle fire suppression. It has to handle like technical rescue. To where like I don't know anyone from the town of Cary, but like that's an engine,
Right.
for suppressing fire, right? And they might have another apparatus that's dedicated to specifically
That's
that.
like so my old job is a smaller suburban town.
Yeah.
And there on the engines you had to have everything. Like you have kind of like Township of Logan here. You have a little bit of everything. Maybe not quite what they have. But I remember when I came over to Cambridge being like, man, we don't carry anything on the engines. And now I'm like, God, there's so much stuff in here.
So much stuff, yeah.
And then you go to like even an even bigger city and like a lot of those guys, it's literally just
I mean, if you look,
hose and gates and
yeah, if you look at that, so that's a rescue engine, right? So if you look at that, like based off the picture alone, you can see struts on the left.
Yeah.
You can see a fan right next to the pump panel.
Yep.
You can see like a toolbox, like a build-out toolbox.
It looks like a bunch of slide-out trays.
Slide-out trays, right? So a lot of stuff that for us is relegated to either the rescue or the engine or the rescue of the ladder company, they carry on an engine. What about you? What about you guys, John? Like, are you guys?
Dude, we have 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. We carry everything. We have struts, and we have all our rescue stuff with our cutters and spreaders and
On the engines or
on
ladders
the engines.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. We have all that stuff on it. All of our hand tools, obviously, and everything. We have ladders. We have a roof ladder. We have a pencil ladder, and then we have a 24. And then we have all our cribbing. We have our air bags.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you name it, it's on there. It's crazy.
That's how my old town was. Didn't have like the like Paratech struts, but like I forget the name of them. But for stabilization, it had jaws. On it. Had all the cribbing. Had all the stuff. I think I haven't been gone that long, but I don't remember it entirely now. But I think like it carried more than the ladder did because the ladder was like the secondary piece if you had the staffing, but also the ladder was a quint. So it had the turntable, but it also had the tank and hose, so you didn't have room for all of that stuff on the ladder truck. So like the engines carried everything.
Yeah.
And
then we carry all our EMS stuff.
Yeah.
There is literally zero room for anything in our trucks at this point. All space is taken up.
Do you guys run medic engines?
Yeah.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. So, we have two of our two frontline engines are ALS, and the other ones aren't. Actually, I lied about that. They are. They're spare. The ladder is not ALS. We don't have an ALS license for the ladder. So, even if we could put a crew together and like take spare equipment off of like the ambulance to go, you can't do it. We don't have the license for it. Right. So we just have to run a BLS ladder if that's the point. If that's the case.
Right.
So.
Very cool. I feel like the ALS engine concept's really catching on in the last like 5 years.
You know, it's like it's all good and great, but it's I don't understand why the license requires you in a sense to you have to carry every single thing basically that the ambulance does. So you know, it's one of those things like all the extra things that you have to carry, and it's just like
I know there is some variability. It's like a class.
Yeah.
It's a class 5, I think.
Yeah. So we don't have to carry like long spine. Like we don't have long spine. You know, I don't know.
we do.
Yeah.
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 We
I'm
carry
pretty,
one.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure there's on there somewhere.
Yeah,
Well, so we have like the
Reeves.
scoop.
Yeah,
which
okay. Which counts, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those
much.
things. It's like it's a good idea because the same reason that we always like had first responders or BLS providers on an engine is because, you know, especially if you're working in a town that has a private ambulance service. Kind of going back to our EMS episode, is that we're not for profit, so we can have resources there all the time, strategically located to get there quickly. So it makes sense. The problem comes like with the ALS engines when you don't get a paramedic ambulance, and now you have a ALS patient. Now you have to take a suppression piece down, and you know it's just a change of the game, and you know some of it is good. It's it's ultimately good for the people, which is what you want, but some of it kind of comes at a different cost.
Shifting resources.
Yeah,
It just kills me because I always feel like we're like on the engine when I'm like going through stuff, and then like I'll open up the box of extra stuff that like. You know, you hardly even know what you have in there because you know you have every bag possible. You got 9 bags of stuff, and it's like there's so many doubles and triples, and it's like
five filter
dude.
needles.
It's like we're going into a war zone.
Yeah.
It's like we should legitimately keep track of the things that we use all year long, so we can show it to OEMS and be like, this is what my engine used. Like we can reduce.
I think there should be, and that's
things,
where I
you
think
know?
like. Maybe this would be like an episode for another time, but like, where like you see when we've talked about like rapid advancement and like innovation in the fire service, to where like we've seen like the electric vehicle fires and like firefighters are already coming up with like intuitive and like ingenuitive ways of you guys know what I mean of solving the problem, but like government or like administration is like slow to catch up.
Yeah.
So like approaching OEMS and being like, hey, like this is a you know, for those that are not from Massachusetts or don't operate in OEMS is the Office of Emergency Medical Services, is like the Massachusetts overarching authority for EMS. But like going to them being like, hey, this is a trend that's really catch on, like the ALS engine concept. So maybe having their own like classification of like, it's not realistic to carry all this stuff. This is what's realistic to have on an ALS engine that meets like the standard of care.
Right.
And again, like you know, I think this would be probably a good topic. So not to get too far off, but like you know, you could take into the same way you take into apparatus innovation and design. You could take into like account how far your hospital is. Like, okay, maybe we don't need to carry that 3rd, 4th line drug because by the time we're doing that, we're at a hospital. You know what I mean? You know, and that might be different for somewhere rural Kentucky or something that has an hour-long transport, you know.
You will keep the mass trousers.
You will. You will keep them. You won't use them. You're not allowed to, but you will keep them.
Yeah.
You know,
Heard some funny stories about those mass trousers.
they're essentially like the things pilots wear, right? I mean, same concept anyway.
Pulling some cheese.
Like fighter
I see that.
pilots.
Yeah.
Heard some funny stories about them.
So, yeah, no, that'd be a good topic.
Yeah.
So anyway, so these are some of the questions. There's like I said, there's kind of a litany of resources on like how to design an engine. There's a bunch of different checklists, and there's a lot of literature on like the questions that you should be asking yourself. Like what questions before like diving into an apparatus, like questions that either chiefs or like some people have like a planning committee of like, or a planning committee. Jeez, I'm really, which I think is important. Like I think chief officers, obviously, I mean, I don't want to like, you know, everyone has their opinion. And like, I think that at the end of the day, like chief officers are the decision makers, but I think it's important to solicit input from the end user, right? The guys on the street that are using the engine every day.
Yeah.
Because, you know, chief officers have a lot of experience and they have that like strategic level oversight, but maybe they haven't been at the tactical level in a while, or maybe they haven't, you know, when they weren't practicing EMS, for example.
Right.
So like having some of those end users involved,
or just
in the
for
development
morale,
process.
like
Yeah.
having your people involved lets
Yeah.
them feel like they're involved with the organization and have some like
Yeah.
say in its direction.
Yeah.
You know?
So we do. We have the committee.
That's cool.
And we have and the mechanic is involved in it. So the mechanic, like, I think they flew him out to Pierce or E1 or maybe both.
Yeah.
And he got to go like look at
the
everything,
operation.
you know what I mean? And obviously he's a mechanic and he loves that stuff.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like
Our
that's like
mechanics are
field
the
day,
same.
Yeah, they go out to Pierce.
Yeah.
So
But so here's some of the questions that I've some of the common threads that I found as far as like where do you even begin? Like, hey, we've allocated, I'd say 500,000, but at this point you probably need close to $1 million by the
think-
time the dust settles.
I think it's over 700 now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
750.
Especially with the equipment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And is it coming just with nothing, or are you getting equipment with it? Which
Right.
So before you even think about that, right? Some of the questions we're asking ourselves: delivery time, right? Did we just lose, like emergently lose an engine in an accident, and we don't have a spare, and we need, like, you might have to just get like a showpiece that like just came, it's like standardized, but we need something now, right?
Yeah.
So like, what are your delivery times and budget constraints, right? And that starts to frame the conversation. The quantity of apparatus needed and the variation, right? So quantity not only in like how much do we need to purchase, but like how much does our community have, and is this a specialized piece of apparatus, or is this specifically an engine, or is this like a rescue engine where we're carrying a little bit of everything, right? What's the apparatus's primary function? Which I think it kind of goes back to the other question: is this strictly for like suppression activity, or are you doing rescue? Are you doing TAC rescue? Are you doing like all these other additional tasks, EMS, right? Looking at your community, what makes sense for your community? Demographics, environmental factors, and regulations, right? So something like as simple as like having exposed like crosslays, right, can probably make a lot of sense for down south, and maybe makes a lot of sense up north. Like some people on their crosslays, they don't even have like that top tray. Or like, are you in an area like Wisconsin or something where you have a lot of snow, salt, and erosion, where it might make sense to have like those slide downs like the Pierce Puck to keep your crosslays
I'll
protected
tell you
from the elements.
I'll tell you why. Forget the elements. I'm going to tell you why those are those slide down compartments.
Yeah.
And like, so we, and there's videos of like, I think we might even had it, guys humming down the street with the engine, and then you just see the cross layout and the nozzle just smashing off people's cars and stuff like that, because they took a corner and it bounced the whole tray out, and that actually happened to us.
Really?
Even with like the webbing up.
So we had the webbing, but those, after a little while, those bands, they just start to lose their elasticity a little bit, and they don't. And then if you have the crosslays done right, they're like kind of protruding out, and so it's like they're pushing on it, and it's it's
Right.
like just the magical. So we had that happen to us. It didn't hit anybody, but it did hit a car and cause a little bit of damage. But there was actually like a case where I'm pretty sure a woman got killed.
Cambridge.
That's right. That's right. I remember we talked about that before.
Yeah, and that's where the nets came from.
Right.
They were always supposed to be there, and that was where they started like really enforcing.
But those slide down compartments, that much better, because
So if you look at that one there, that like, so you versus like the Pierce, like I think most of you are familiar with the Pierce like puck design. So we're gonna have these pictures up. So if you look at the bottom right hand corner, the one with Appleton, that's like your quintessential like Pierce puck design, right? But what we're talking about is the difference between right behind the rear cab, you have that vertical slider, right? So behind that are your crosslays. We're talking about that having a completely like self-contained slider, completely protected from the elements, versus just having webbing, right? It's vertically protected, but something like this is like completely self-contained, and like maybe
it's
even
not going to come out.
And then maybe if you're like really committed to safe behind that, you have webbing. I don't know. I mean, but at that point you're like really slowing things down.
I think that would be.
But yeah, so it's all versus the top left, right, where you have that exposed and it's easily deployable, but is it as safe?
Right.
Or does that make sense for, where you have like really, really bad winters where your crosslays are continuously exposed to the elements?
Yeah.
I don't know.
The other thing, if you go back real quick, something you see less and less and less are the fold up doors. instead of the roll-up doors.
Yeah.
Lot of apparatus doors have been taken out by
You
those,
don't say.
those open doors, and the roll-up doors are saving that. Although, like, same thing though, like they get exposed to the elements, and you got to really take care of those roll-ups because they get stiff and stuff. But yeah. Oh, actually, yeah. Well,
Yep.
To be fair, the Amazon truck took itself out on my door. I didn't take the
But I
Amazon
was
truck
driving.
out. Oh yeah, that
And
was
had
you.
to take the hit
And I had to do the
as
paperwork.
the operator.
Oh man,
I didn't open the cabinet.
I had one.
I did.
I had one of those.
Yeah.
We were. What was it, like just like a trash can fire or something? And I
Yeah,
grabbed
it
a
was
bucket
your
out.
acting day.
Yeah, and I left the because we were in a spare. All our new ones have roll up. Left it open, and this Amazon truck took the corner, and it must have just been out of his sight. Man, it was like a tuna can, right down the side. Yeah. No damage really to us.
No, almost none.
Just filleted his truck open.
But that also brings up another point of like the roll-up doors are great, but in the winter, if you wash it and you don't dry it, they can freeze.
Yeah.
Do you guys? Yeah, but you guys don't wash them inside.
Yeah,
We
but if you get a
but,
run,
like if you
right
get a
away,
run, like halfway through, and then now you're going down
just
the
on the
road.
drive when it's
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
can
negative
get
8 with the wind chill.
little ice dams in between those little
Right.
rolling sheets.
Right. Yeah.
So with something like and you have an open up, you don't really got to worry about that. But it's not as convenient if you're space limited. So it's like
Right.
It's pros and cons of everything, which I think is kind of cool, right?
Right.
So environmental factors, right? Physical restrictions regarding apparatus operating area. Like can you really have big apparatus, or do you have to have small apparatus, right? Or do you have, like for us, right? We're still operating out of firehouses that are from the 1800s.
Yeah.
So like big apparatus are physically not going to fit in the firehouse.
Although we have huge trucks.
But they can't fit in every firehouse.
Right.
Right. So how much are you guys running? Right? Are you guys running your balls off every day? You getting like, I don't know, like 10, 16, 20 runs a day, or like you have maybe not that many runs. You're from a rural community. And like how many people do you have in your community, or like how many occupants do you have in the cab? Space accommodations for equipment and other features, and then affordability. So one of the things that's local, and I talked to a couple of friends about this as ways to kind of bridge that gap. Are you guys familiar with the FCAM bid list?
Yeah. So anything like you buy as like a government organization, you have to bid over a certain amount.
Yeah.
But they have vendors that have already been approved, basically, so that if you need something, you can go straight to one of those vendors for a specific item.
So
Right.
for those that aren't familiar, specifically pertaining to Massachusetts, so it's the Fire Chiefs Association of Massachusetts, and they have collectively come together to make like a bid list that manufacturers have agreed to. Like the base model of this truck cost this much.
Okay.
So they collectively have bid on like certain brands, like, I don't know, like Pierce, E1,
Yeah.
Rosenbauer, whoever, right? And so they can collectively go here. They already have a pre-negotiated price. And then from there, they can build to spec to whatever that community needs. So other additional factors that I thought was cool. So that's kind of like your additional planning, right? So like what makes sense for your community? What are your budget constraints? But then looking more at like the geography and infrastructure of urban versus rural. So this I thought was really cool, right? So like defining urban versus rural, and then like what effect that has on building your apparatus. Like, and I don't think I certainly didn't think about kind of how that geography really feeds into like the end user of like building and designing fire apparatus. So urban versus rural, right? So more modern buildings. This is, I believe this is, let's see.
This is gotta be rural.
Yeah. So more modern buildings. You have larger firehouses, right? Wider streets in more suburban areas. This is definitely rural. Thank you, John. Airports and other industrial parks close to the urban center. You have those wildland urban interface like we recently talked about, right? So with these types of things in mind, fire departments in smaller like urban centers kind of strategically outfit the trucks for the unique needs of these communities. And like the way that equates to their fleet, right, is they're EMS and rescue ready. So we saw pictures of that, like we'll have in the episode, right? Are you operating kind of to be a multifaceted piece of equipment, right? So smaller urban fire departments serving busy areas, often equipped, and I think this is a growing trend like we had talked about. They're often equipped with all different types of EMS and rescue response emergencies, right? So they're generally larger in size so they can accommodate carrying more equipment, right? to manage all sorts of different types of calls. So when fire departments serve as a city center as well in industrial areas, those larger trucks are needed because they just strictly have to carry more equipment and be ready for like a larger, larger variety of calls. And then with a larger geographic area, there's just a lot more types of calls that you consider, right? So if your service area is large, not only do you maybe have like an industrial base that you have to deal with, you have to deal with EMS. You might have like ponds, right? You might have to have some water rescue. So we have,
stuff, yeah.
It's reflected versus like a community that doesn't have a large body of water might not have any
need
to have like a robust complement of water rescue equipment.
Do you guys have any water rescue on your engines?
We do, yeah. So we have
Mustang suits.
PFDs, Mustang suits.
Yeah,
Ladder companies have a lot. I think you guys have. We have throw ropes, and that's just because of our vicinity to both ponds in the Charles and the Atlantic Ocean.
The Atlantic.
You can probably speak to that a little bit more than I can.
On the trucks, that's pretty much
just in
standard.
general, like what we
have a pretty robust marine resources. Yeah, we have I think we technically have 5 boats. So we have like a big fire boat. We have a smaller rib craft. It's not small. It's like 30 feet, 29 feet, I think.
Sick.
Rib craft that's good for just like quick rescue stuff. We have 2 small, I don't know who makes them, but they're similar to rib crafts. One has like a hard bottom, one has a rubber bottom. They're like 10 feet with like a 25 horsepower motor, and they sit on a stack trailer, and those are like swift water or like mutual aid. And then I think the rescue carries a little inflatable boat as well on the top. Yeah. And then I think for a long time it was mostly just the ladders, and then like Engine 3 and whatever that had Mustang suits. But I think just about everybody
almost
has them
everyone
now,
has
right?
PFDs now.
Yeah.
Throw ropes, Mustang suits.
Mustang suits, yeah. So then you get into the urban, right? So older, more historic buildings, new, modern, high-rise buildings, right? So cramped city centers, narrow streets, alleys, intersections. So these larger trucks, they're not going to make it, right? And we've seen that. Fortunately, like I found that. So our Engine 3 and Engine 6 are big trucks. They're the puck design, but they do have a surprisingly good turning radius.
Yeah.
I will give them that. I've honestly noticed, you can speak to the squad more than me. Like, it's almost comparable because the squads they have a longer than you'd think turning radius.
Yeah, well, and also the having like the cab over the wheels helps that because you can get so for the squads, the wheels are all the way out front, so the turning radius becomes shit.
So like we said, things that we deal with, smaller, more historic firehouses with those height, width, and length constrictions for fire apparatus, to where like ideally you might like to have X piece of fire apparatus, but physically it won't fit. These original firehouses are built for horse-drawn carriages, and we operate within the parameters that we operate. Vastly different response areas, unique structural and emergency requirements, urban planning initiatives, pedestrian walkways, bike lanes, which present emergency response challenges. Maybe we'll have an episode about bike lanes one day. Just there's so the scenario and like the planning considerations are just vastly different, right?
I would argue too that like this area is probably one of the more challenging because we really are built on old cart paths and horse paths, and like you go to a city like Manhattan and you're like nicely gridded out areas, and ours are
3 loop-de-loops first left and like 9 diamonds.
Yeah. So different.
Be next door.
Yeah, exactly.
We have on Route 24, we have like a turnaround. They call it the Old Horse Bridge or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's legitimately so most guys won't even turn around on it because you're on Route 24. People are coming up a hill and coming over it when you're trying to pull off into the highway. So people just they just do this huge big loop to get back on. They don't even go over it. Yeah. But that's like, like there's just like a little history there, and then I don't know. It's just kind of.
That's something too. Like that's. I know this. You're not talking about like same thing, but like my old community had a couple of like covered bridges to get into like neighborhood. Like,
oh wow.
So you had to like consider the weight as well, and like whether you could get over them and stuff like that. Like,
and I think people forget, like specifically in the Northeast, like how old this part of the country is in comparison to like other parts of the country.
Yeah.
To where we've had like either volunteer, professional standing fire departments from like the early 18 to mid 1800s versus like some of these fire departments out west and like newer developments in Colorado, some parts of California, Oregon, like where they're like incorporated in the 60s, where they can be like much more deliberate with their urban planning, right? Versus us, like you said, John, like
it's just kind of where everybody
settled
down,
literally like
around it,
colonial, like Jeb Hathaway's, you know, like horse-drawn carriage, you know,
right.
And it just doesn't make sense. So like having those smaller, more maneuverable trucks to get around in a city and support maybe a higher call volume. And like some of the things that when I was doing research for this episode is like the physical weight of the truck, like and how that can deteriorate over time if it's just doing like a really high call volume versus a much more like light or maneuverable pump. So here's an example of those two different types of things, of urban versus rural. So this is the one up top is from Maryland, from like a busy urban center. So it has 500 gallons of water, low hose beds, and it's a much smaller, more maneuverable design to support like a higher call volume, specifically dedicated to engine company operations, low hose beds, right? Versus the one at the bottom, which we've already kind of discussed, operates more in that rescue engine capacity.
Those hose beds are up there.
They're crazy,
dude. Like stepping up on that step that's not low, and then getting those hoses off that truck,
and then having to like twist and come down and like
that's like a big complaint, across the board. I mean, it is what it is, but it's like one of those things where it's like, then you get to a low hose bed and you're like, wow, this is nice.
Yeah, you're literally just standing on the ground.
And you can grab it. I think it, and again, like it feeds into the, like, what limitations do you have?
Yeah.
Like, so,
I mean, for us, we have like, not that high hose beds, but we have high hose beds on most of our trucks. And so like for our LDH, there's like a old like ladder dog strap basically that's not exactly what it is, but like that's just girth hitched around the coupling and it hangs down so that you can grab it, because otherwise you got to like really get up there, you know. And it's hard to tell in these photos just how different these are, but if you look between the wheelbase, if you look at the distance between the front and rear wheels, you can see that that's quite a bit different. And then the distance from like the front of the front wheel to the end of the bumper, I mean, these trucks must be a pretty significant
and
difference, like as far as length.
I don't want to say one of them, but if you look at the bottom, it looks like they have, and again, I think this speaks to environmental factors. So it looks like they have a trash line on the front that's completely protected from the elements. Versus up top, it looks like they also have a trash line that's not protected from the elements.
But they have a front suction.
Front suction as well, which is
baller.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So we have front suction, we don't use it. It's like
I love it.
Well, I asked the guy when he came in, I'm like, well, like why? I don't know. I was like, well, what's the difference? Like, what are we losing for pressure when we do that? He's like, well, I don't know. There's like 390s in there, and it goes through all this stuff. He's like, so it's some. He's like, so if you hit a shitty hydrant, like you wouldn't want to use that. But I'm like, how much could it possibly be?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think there's any real literature on it.
Yeah.
Because I haven't. No one's been able to tell me. But I love front suction, dude.
Yeah, it's so if you find a hydrant,
I think you just get better.
Happens to be right where you're pulling up to a fire, and you just go right there. And
well, what I learned is that, you know, when you pull up to a hydrant and you pull off one snake, right, but you're close to it, it's like if you get close to a hydrant, you actually need to pull off two snakes because you need to make a massive loop so it doesn't kink.
Right.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you can't do it. Otherwise you literally have your whole... So it's almost like... That's why I like the idea of front suction so much, because you can pull up and you can be like... especially like with these new trucks, like you have the pump and roll feature. So it's like you can actually stay and pump and drive the truck. So if you need to come up a little bit more and someone's just going like this or something, you can literally just do that. Or you can do it yourself. You know what I mean? If you're like a foot short, you can pull up a few feet. It's like such a great option, but like we just it's like not in our SOPs or anything. Like we don't train it, and it's like I think it's a shame, but I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, I like it.
and again, like I feel like I have a fair amount of experience on engine. Like there's guys that have a lot more than me. That's for certain. Especially with like pumping. But I always think of like, am I trying to achieve volume or am I trying to achieve pressure? So like when I've had the conversation with people about like, hey, you have multiple 90 degree where you're going to lose pressure, right? But like if you're trying to get like, to me, like, yes, like pressure off a hydrant is important, but I can create pressure with the pump, right? So what I really want is the capacity to gain volume. So as long as I can get 1,000 gallons per, what I mean? Like, so and again, like I'm not an expert, so there might be someone out here that can correct me.
Yeah.
But like, I don't particularly care, like, if I can get 1,000 gallons per minute, like I'm not super concerned whether that pressure is 80 PSI or 50 or 40, right? As long as I have the capacity to effectively pull 1,000, if that hydrant can give me 1,250, 1,000, right? What is that rated for? Because I can take the volume that I'm getting and then I can pressurize it and give it out.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I can get that volume. So I'm not sure like how much, and again, there's probably an expert out there that can speak to it about like how much we're actually losing through those bends.
I just imagine that if it was that significant, they just wouldn't put front
Yeah.
section
Well,
on the
that's what
trucks.
I mean. Like, if it's not a good feature, then why
Yeah.
are we doing it?
Yeah.
And why
You know?
is it so popular?
Right. Why is it it's almost like, I don't want to say it's a standard option on a truck, because obviously we have a truck right here that doesn't have it. But, yeah, to me, I think it's and I'm no expert on hydraulics, and the best I ever was at hydraulics was in academy. But with that said, like you just know exactly what you need to do with your truck all the time, and it's kind of like sometimes that's as far as like we continue to bring it. But I think that pressure off the hydrant equates to volume. So you know what I mean? If like we have hydrants in town that you're getting like 30. And
I guess
like,
it's volume coming in, how fast you're getting.
Yeah.
Well, it's like efficient carrying capacity. So at a certain pressure, you get the most amount of volume kind of deal.
So it's when we're getting when we hook up and it's at like 30 psi, it's like there's room for like a hand line or two on that.
Yeah.
And that's base. You know what I mean? There's not much room.
Not much to work with.
But when you get on, when we go to the dog pound and we hook up just to flow water and to do some training events, there's like 90 psi on that hydrant.
Do you guys code your hydrants? So in Cambridge, we have our hydrants are painted different colors that signify, the minimum gallon. And every year we test the hydrants and like.
And that's got to be based off of the diameter of the pipe in the ground, right?
Yeah, and the like main. Yeah. We have some huge mains. We have a lot of 2,000 plus gallon.
That would be a really good thing. I should mention to the chief, maybe we can get with the DPW guys and have them color coded. Only because I have like, and I remember in academy, know your hydrants, know where the good water is, everything.
Know where the mains are,
and it's like I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean,
no idea.
I've never hooked up to.
There's not a lot of bad. Yeah, there's not a lot of like bad water. There's a couple areas in East Cambridge that like sit higher where the pressure is awful.
Yeah,
but like generally, like we're pretty fortunate that like we have pretty much good water almost.
And they have to put huge mains and systems in to feed the high rises and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
But,
no, that's good.
And the just general population. And also, but time of day is a factor. Like you go to these like areas of high rises, and you go, in the evening when everybody's showering and making dinner and doing that stuff. Yeah. You're gonna get a totally different reading than if you go in the middle of the day or the middle of the night when nobody's using stuff or in the building.
The DPWs can boost your pressures like from their home computers.
Reroute,
yeah, they can do all that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Call them up. Hey man, we got a fire. I need more. And he's bloop 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 bloop. All right, here we go. Send the water.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, it's kind of
cool.
The systems that are like around and underground.
Well, it's like when you were talking about they had the entrapment in Wayland where they like remotely shut down the grid. They're like very
yeah.
It's crazy, like the level and like
shut it down.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like that's kind of the opening foray to the conversation. We were really happy to see so much user-driven content in the discussion group and have that topic kind of come to light on the larger stage here on an episode. So if you guys have stuff that you want to discuss or you want to see on the show, like put it in the discussion group. There's a lot of really what I like about the discussion group is there's people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different ranks in there. So if you have either a topic that you want to discuss or a legitimate question, there's plenty of chief officers in there. There's plenty of new guys in there, and there's plenty of experienced firefighters and people throughout the rank structure. And that discussion group exists to facilitate positive conversation and knowledge sharing. And that is directly built out of an episode. So we're happy to be able to bring one of those episodes to light. So that wraps up that, pending any questions, and brings us into the...
Are they going to call with questions?
Wait, do we have our first call?
Yeah.
The phone's been ringing off the hook. To be
Ringing
honest
off
with you,
the
but
hook.
Off the hook.
I'm gonna. We won't pick it up though.
Yeah, no. So I have a dad-related one, but everyone can relate, right? So everyone can relate, right?
Barry went fully involved into the
fully
dad life.
involved, right?
Jeez.
So you're a dad. Picture this: you're a dad, right?
John, are you a dad?
Dog dad.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh.
Okay, fair. That's
Yep.
fair.
Right?
Sometimes I feel like a
Yeah.
dad.
Yeah.
When you're
I mean,
here.
look at me.
When the
Yeah.
three of us are sitting
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when I
Right?
feel like a dad.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
You're hosting your first 4th of July barbecue. You reach into your closet. Are you pulling out a fresh, clean pair of white New Balances or a fresh, clean pair of Nikes, or coming from left field, the trusty pair of Asics?
Oh, damn. Yeah, somebody told me.
You know what? The white Nikes, the white New Balances.
Those are essentials.
Are you
Yeah.
wearing them with high white socks and a Hawaiian?
high white
Hawaiian
socks or
shirt?
low
Yeah.
cut?
Mid-calves.
Jean shorts.
Yeah.
Jean
and
shorts.
do you tuck in? Do you tuck your shirt in?
Do you tuck the
T-shirt.
T-shirt
T-shirt.
in and leave
To
the
the
Hawaiian
jorts,
shirt?
the
Yeah.
jean
Yeah.
shorts.
And it has to be like a national park, like
Yeah.
Yellowstone National Park.
I climbed Mount
I climbed
Washington.
Mount Washington.
Yes.
This,
With like a
this
buffalo
car
on
climbed
it.
Mount
Yeah.
Washington.
The collar on the T-shirt has holes. The shirt
Yeah.
itself is
Oh,
35.
Yeah.
because you had it before you had a kid,
Right.
and you didn't get rid of it.
But point being, you're lacing up for a serious day of hosting. Are you?
Oh, yeah.
What shoes are you lacing up?
Yep. The wife comes running out with the kiss the
Can I-
cook apron.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought.
you bend down, you lace up that shoe, and you're like,
Yeah.
Oh, I don't.
Crisp.
go.
Crisp.
Wait, hang on, time out.
you don't.
Do you
lace?
actually tie your shoes?
What?
I just never untie my shoes.
Listen, Sean.
You destroy the heels.
You don't even have.
That's
These
bullshit.
don't even have laces.
Yeah, that
What?
doesn't
Yeah.
count.
But I don't
Slip
ever
on.
untie my shoes.
So I understood
Really?
about the Sean Sullivan with his comments to me about the making the bed thing and standing my.
Yeah.
I feel like tying your shoes is kind of 101.
My shoes are tied. I just don't untie
But you
them.
destroy the heel.
No, you don't.
You do.
You
Kind
do.
I have definitely
Yeah,
cut
no,
a
I-
heel of my own.
You
I
have
sh-
to like
I
just
have
pull the
shoes
heel
that I
out.
tie loosely because I don't do anything in them. Like these are running shoes.
When
And
I run, I
so-
tie. Yeah.
So these are loose because I don't run.
Are they for?
So-
So are they? So my question to you is: are they for running the streets or running the grill?
Well, so here's the thing, right?
Running
I
the
didn't realize that these were dad shoes, and so I went to.
It's a badge of honor.
It was my friend's birthday party this weekend, and so I went, and his sister said, "Those are some sweet dad shoes. Do you grill in those things?" And I'm like,
That's amazing.
I was like, these are Asics. I was like, how dare you? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I thought they were just
Yeah.
cool running sneakers.
I remember.
They are. That's the point.
Yeah, I remember like
Because-
when I was in high school, if
that
you
is
wore
the point.
Asics,
Yeah.
you were like
Yeah.
the poor kid. They're actually like nice shoes.
They
now.
are.
Well, they're expensive shoes.
Yeah, they're expensive
Yeah,
shoes.
Asics they're not cheap.
I don't think it's the brand always. It's the design, like that
Yeah.
super thick sole,
Yeah,
kind of
I
white,
don't know.
Comfy.
comfy.
So so these shoes actually are hand-me-downs. So
Oh, that just got even more dad.
well, so
Good.
it just so happens that that me and Matt Flaherty were the same size shoe, and so I gained.
Those are Flaherty?
Yeah, I gained an
Never
entire
get rid of 'em.
gained
Nice.
an entire shoe rack.
That's
So-
amazing.
Yeah.
it's pretty.
Never get rid
That's
of 'em.
amazing.
Yeah.
Especially the
So-
shoes don't have
Well,
mustaches.
Matt
Yeah,
wore
I'm-
dad
yeah,
shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Matt was ready for the grill.
yeah. I got a pair of. I should have worn. If I knew this was the question of the day, I would have worn them in. I got a pair of overalls
Well,
from
I
him
mean-
too.
Oh,
Some
amazing.
Carhartt
Yeah.
overalls.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Ooh, those are nice, dude. Those last
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Carhartt.
So I'll be wearing them up on my dad's farm next time I go when it's cooler out.
Love
That'll
it.
be fun.
So
Yeah.
you want to go first? I mean,
Sure.
you're the most experienced dad here, I think.
Yeah, so mine has nothing to do with being a dad. If you haven't listened to any of our episodes, I have absurdly large feet, and I
yeah.
buy shoes
Hashtag that so we get some more views.
Hashtag feet. Algorithm.
No joke. It's a pain in the ass because nobody sells my size in the store. So I don't get to try shoes on. So I go on like eBay and all these places, and I buy like a pair.
Actually, I recently bought.
Will actually employs his own son
No,
to
like-
sit there and make shoes for him.
Yes,
like a Keebler elf.
I will. I mean, he kind of looks like a Keebler elf
He
right
ca-
now.
he
That's
actually
why he
really
said
does,
He's so
yeah.
cute, dude. You're the cutest kid.
Little ginger elf.
But I buy shoes and then I get them and I put them on, and so there's so much variability once you get like over a size 15. Like even the same brand shoe, different models fit totally different. And then I put them on and I'm like, the fucking arch in this thing is fucking terrible. These are
Such a dad thing to say.
Yeah, until you're like wearing them around all day. Or I buy running shoes and I go running once I get shin splints. I know I haven't run in a while. Fuck you guys. That was my own self-conscious coming out.
It's gonna be okay.
It's gonna be okay.
It's
So
called
the answer
deflecting.
the answer is I put whatever shoes I happen to buy off eBay that fit me and fit comfortable enough that I kept them.
Well,
But I
all
don't untie. Running shoes are different, but I don't like when I'm running. But
So
I don't
you're not a
untie my
brand guy.
shoes.
You're just what fits.
Yeah,
Okay.
If it fits, it ships.
yeah.
Side note.
I just brought some pair of shoes called like Prop It recently because
Really?
they were like PROP. I don't know.
I feel like
I was like I need black shoes for work, and they were all black, and that's how I actually ended up.
You know,
with these
you ever
guys.
go to
Those
like
were
the
so
you ever go to
uncomfortable, I
like
had to buy
the
another pair.
what's it like DXL like the tall and large
Yeah.
stores?
The problem is that I don't have wide feet,
tall, dark, and handsome.
so all of the stuff in DXL is like double wide, triple wide. So I put them on,
Even the shirts are.
and
they-
I like swim in them. So they have the
Oh.
long length, but they're also crazy wide, and they don't sell like regular width shoes.
narrow shoes, yeah.
Interesting.
It's a silly problem to have, but it definitely affects my entire life.
Complete side note. I feel like I bought something off of eBay recently, which is like a complete fluke for me. I feel like eBay is like the MySpace of
No way.
Like
I
I
shop
go
eBay all
on
the
and I'm like,
time.
oh, this still exists.
compared to what?
I don't know, like
Craigslist.
Oh,
Facebook
Facebook
Market?
Marketplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're not gonna find the stuff in Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah,
you can
I
find
don't know.
in eBay.
I just never like. I feel like people buy like like Pokemon cards and like baseball cards. I don't know. I don't use eBay.
Not
much.
to like totally
Well-
change the subject. Remember when people used to make eBay businesses though? When that was
Yeah,
like,
they still do because eBay's still a
That's
thing.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I go on eBay. I'm like, this is still a thing.
I think Craigslist.
You know what I
is,
mean?
I think Craigslist is the one that's like
I'm not-
the MySpace of shopping.
the
Like,
whole-
nobody goes on Craigslist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
sure.
whole bidding thing though, right? It's just like for eBay.
Yeah.
I like the buy it now. Just I want if I'm ordering something online or if I'm looking for something, I just want there to be a hard price so I can go.
There's
okay,
a buy
I'll
it now
take it.
price, right?
There is-
Almost
sometimes
everything.
there is.
Almost everything now has a.
But
buy-
like before,
buy
it
now.
was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to pay like whatever this thing's worth, right?
Yeah.
I remember I was bidding on one thing and I got outbid on it, and it was like I paid and someone overpaid by like whatever 50 or something like that, and I just
Yeah.
and I didn't even know I was getting outbid. I got outbid in the last second, and all of a sudden I'm sitting there waiting for it to tell me,
Yeah.
oh, you've been awarded this item. And then
Yeah.
I was
I
sadly
like that you
informed
buy,
that I
you buy
lost.
something, they tell you you've been awarded. You haven't been awarded anything. You paid for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And it's just like, yeah.
I'll bid on some stuff like like stuff like that's collected like helmets or something like that.
Yeah.
That stuff is bid, but most stuff is buy it now. I think eBay is just like the Amazon of used stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Don't
There's
give-
a lot
hey,
of new stuff on
listen,
it too, but it like
don't give Amazon any more ideas. All right.
Yeah.
They're
gonna buy it. Yeah.
Yeah.
now they're like,
They're gonna buy eBay.
Huh.
that's a concept.
right.
Yeah.
Can't have anybody
So
else
anyways.
making money.
What are you going with? Shoes.
Wait, did
Well, I thought left field. I thought I got
you're
to
going
employ
New
the
Balance?
Asics.
Yeah,
But
no, that's fair,
honestly,
that's fair.
when I was at the New Balance store a
Yeah.
few weeks ago, I'm not gonna lie, I
Not
bought
doing
a couple pairs of shorts from there. But like I went through their entire store for sneakers, and I'm just not a New Balance guy. It turns out.
Yeah.
But
I think these are
they
good.
did have those. Those are Skechers.
Skechers.
They did have. I know because I own the same exact pair. I got them from Costco.
Yeah, awesome.
Another
I
great
got
story.
them from eBay.
I don't wear Nike.
Yeah.
I don't support Nike.
Yeah.
So I'm going with New Balance because I do like those New Balance grilling shoes. I just didn't have the heart to buy them.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think I need a couple more years
Yeah.
before I buy those shoes. But I also know people who've been wearing them since high school, and every time they get a brand new pair, they're like, "You don't know what you're missing out
Yeah.
on." Yeah.
Yep. New Balance is nice shoes. I like those.
I'd have to go New Balance, but I will say, in the interest of transparency, kind of a conflict of interest because my stepmom's an executive at New Balance, and I get 40% off of everything.
Oh, thanks for the heads up,
Okay.
Barry.
Well,
Good
now you
friend.
guys know.
Awesome.
Now
Do
we
they-
know.
Now you guys know.
Yeah, thanks, bud.
Well, when it comes time to buying those shoes, I know where to go.
Yep.
I wish they made like a CrossFit-ish trainer. I felt like they never got into that. They make like a pseudo, but I really wish they got into that game.
Yeah.
Fun fact. I may not look it now, but I used to do competitions occasionally with CrossFit, and
I went to one with you.
Oh, that
years
wasn't a
ago.
competition. That was just a workout, and that was when I was.
Everything's a competition.
Yes, it is. You're right. But I used to do them like more for real, and I won. I came in second in this one, and I got some money, I think, and a gift certificate for a pair of No Bulls.
Yeah,
But they don't make my size, so I never got to use it.
Dang. Everybody loves those. I've never
They're
had
a
them, but
local
I see them
company,
everywhere.
right? I think they're a
I know.
Boston company.
Mac Jones is big time No
Big
Bull
No
guy.
Bull guy?
Yeah.
Nick, what are you lacing up, my friend?
So I'm not a dad. My dad does New Balance with the mid calves on the beach.
Oh,
And
hell
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That is some
That is
dad,
ultimate dad move.
ultimate dad mode.
Yeah, with the bathing suit and like the t-shirt with the holes
Hell
in
yeah.
it.
It's just
you know,
like you
know,
see these
the
see these
cooler,
people.
Yeah.
and the umbrella.
Yeah.
You know,
You
got
see
it.
these people and you're like, okay, I understand like probably you weren't this way and that's how Kid 1 came about. But like how did Kid 2 come about? Because like how does your wife not look at you and be
They're
like,
locked
you
in.
disgust
You're locked
me.
in,
You're
yeah.
locked in.
Yeah.
There's
You're
no-
vested.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
fully
You have
involved.
tenure.
Yeah,
Fully
fully
involved.
involved.
Fully
you know?
involved. There ain't no going
No,
back.
I'm more of a. For me, I like a Puma or an Adidas.
I like Puma.
Yeah.
Adidas is really good. Tracksuit. I'd grill in a tracksuit. Like
Yeah.
that's
That's,
You-
but that's
you know,
baller.
I'm not
that's
so-
fucking sick.
Yeah,
Tracksuit.
tracksuits are
Yeah.
back though.
Yeah.
they
yeah.
are, and they
Tracksuits
have
are
like
back, dude.
nice ones now. They
We're-
have that parachute pants
We're
material.
gonna
you know what I
gonna
mean?
relive like
The
our
90s.
early childhood,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that we weren't like I was still just scrubbing it and
Yeah.
then, but like we're in like all these retro clothes. Soon, like in about 10 years, that's gonna pass, and we're gonna be back into my golden era of Abercrombie and Fitch and American
Oh,
Eagle
I hope
days.
Yeah.
not, dude. I
Super
can't-
preppy,
Hollister.
dude.
Hurley, dude.
Hollister.
Super preppy.
Really? You were a super
Oh
preppy
yeah,
guy?
I worked at Abercrombie.
Okay,
dude.
so
Are you serious?
Yeah,
It's like
man.
were you like the shirtless
You
guy that
worked
just like
at
reeked the
Abercrombie?
shit cologne?
Yeah. hell
What?
yeah.
let's talk.
You worked
Fierce,
at
dude.
Abercrombie. No
Wait,
shit.
Fierce cologne.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's real.
Wow.
Were you one of the out front people that stood out front with the no shirt on?
That's what I'm saying. Just
I
reeking
never
of
did the
cologne.
no shirt.
Wow.
I never did the no shirt deal. But like
I
during,
wish you
like
did.
during the
You're walking through the
holidays,
mall. There's like
Yeah.
two half naked people just standing around.
Always,
doing
yeah.
that. Always.
I did during like the out front deal like during the holidays, like when they just like load you up with clothes and put like every awesome outfit they
I can
had
see
in there.
that.
I was like out there just like, hey, what's up? Welcome to Abercrombie, guys.
Awesome.
Totally gonna go on my dad's boat
Hey, guys,
later.
make
Wow.
sure they used to give us taglines like, "Hey, make sure you check out our cool sense," or they'd be like, "Hey, have you checked
This is
out?
unbelievable.
Have you
I'm-
checked out
my
our
mind
our-
is
our new
blown
jean
right now.
line?" Or like all this crap.
Totally
It's
out of
like-
character.
We had very different childhoods. I
yeah.
was a Jinko jeans guy,
Oh,
and then
jeez.
that evolved into wearing nothing but board shorts and flip flops.
Well,
and
you're
I think
from
it.
Florida.
I think
Yeah,
when
board
I-
We're like a
shorts,
beach
board shorts were a
community.
big thing, man.
Oh, in
Still love
Florida,
my
they were
board
a
shorts.
Pac Sun, dude. I spent
Yeah.
all my money at Pac
Yeah.
Sun.
I was a lax bro, so I wore moccasins.
Oh,
Wow.
Nice.
yeah, like Sperry's.
No,
we didn't even have
just a
lax
lot
in
of
Florida.
moccasins. Hollister jeans.
See, okay, so we did Lucky brand jeans. We're like the same age, though, you
Yeah.
and me. So
Yeah.
it was like Lucky brand jeans were huge. Sperry's.
Sperry's. Yep.
Sperry's were huge. I'm North Shore, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it
Yeah.
was like a lot of like boating.
Boating.
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah,
I
yeah.
was inland.
Like the
The
khaki.
moccasins were in
like-
the woods.
Like
were also, like,
khaki
New Hampshire.
shorts. Yeah, North Shore, New Hampshire-ish kind of though. So like
Yeah.
lots of flannels, right?
Yeah.
Flannels.
Yeah.
And, oh, you ever buy a shirt from
Nick
like
is so excited.
Well, no, because I used to love these shirts, and they
Yeah.
last you like 50 years. If you go to a store like Gelson's in Gloucester has one, they like Moose Creek is the brand,
Yeah.
and that with like Carhartt, bro, so good,
Flannels.
Good fall
Always
attire. Yeah.
so
It wasn't a
good.
thing
oh, I
down
know,
in
it's
Florida.
my favorite season, dude.
No.
I'm a big flannel guy.
No,
like
it
at the
board shorts,
bachelor
flip-flops.
party.
There was a point in my high school career where I was just kind of over everything school, and I just used to wear like pajamas, and I had this big pair of Grinch slippers.
You would wear pajamas to school.
He's such a jerk.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. All right. Well,
Will and his
Awesome.
jammies.
the
Yeah.
biggest thing that came out of this is that John worked at Abercrombie.
Yeah,
Unreal.
when you write
Unreal.
Still shocked.
when you write the episode description, make sure that you tag them. And
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they
It's incredible.
Abercrombie,
So they know
large
their best
feet male
employee.
podcast.
I
Yeah.
think
We
what you
gotta
should
get our
do is
viewership
add
up.
to the merch section of your store. You guys should come out with a cologne called Cool Scent.
Cool.
That's what you should
John,
check
Cool
out.
Scent.
Cool.
Cool
With
New
John's
Sense.
cool sense.
John's
yeah.
Cool Scent.
And then we'll shoot a commercial that has nothing to do with cologne.
In black and white.
In black
Yeah.
and white.
Yeah, except the bottle will be in color.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
came up with an idea. I'm not going to say it on air because
All
I
right.
don't want anyone to steal it and make
All right.
all our money.
Love it.
All right. Well, that does it for my component. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks for the people in the group for making it happen. And I'll turn it over to the real professionals for the outros.
Yeah, nothing big today except October 22nd, Rentham, Massachusetts, American Legion.
No big deal.
No big deal.
We are having our lecture series. We have Deputy Chief from Cambridge, Deputy Eichels, Chief from Brockton, Chief Nardelli, Captain from Boston coming in, doing ladders.
Sean Donovan.
So 3 lectures. So we're doing a lecture on leadership, lecture on taxpayers, lecture on ladder culture, and then we're following it up with a sweet barbecue and a cash bar. And it's $95 for a ticket. You can find that on our website.
Got some cool sponsors.
We do. Description. Yep. We'll throw those out on the next episode. And pretty stoked about it. So get your tickets, boys.
Get your tickets.
Girls.
Honestly, it's going to be, we did round 1. It was great. This is round 2, better, faster, stronger. Really excited about this event. Fall is my favorite time of year, so I'm happy we're doing it that time. But if you care about the job, if you care about being a better fireman, if you care about like the culture, it's an event that you're going to want to be at. We're humbled to have anybody show up, but it's going to be a really good time. Everyone's going to learn something. And I found that like every time I go to these types of events, I leave like re-energized.
It's a good night out for the boys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's exactly it.
So
And
hope to
girls.
see you there.
And girls, I
Hope
got to
to see you
add
there.
that. Yeah.
And girls. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
cool.
So,
all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Job Talks out.